Thank you. Thank you, Barjor. And congratulations to President Barjor for his first meeting today.
Thank you.
Dr. Mukesh Sharma has been a dear friend since nearly 20 years now. He's a great human being, caring and ever helpful. In fact, I owe my gratitude to him also for introducing me to Sucharita Hegre, which in turn introduced me to Rotary.
Wonderful.
But Dr. Mukesh Sharma's other achievements are many. I'll just say some of it. He has done a PhD in journalism and mass communication, a master's in broadcast journalism, and a Bachelor of Science. Dr. Mukesh Sharma is a recipient of several national and international awards for his contribution in the field of public service, broadcasting, cinema, and education. In his illustrious career spanning over 4 decades, Dr. Mukesh Sharma was the Director General of Films Division and the Festival Director of Mumbai International Film Festival in the year 2016. He worked as the Additional Director General of Doordarshan Kendra and changed the fortunes of Doordarshan Mumbai and turned it into the best Doordarshan Kendra in the country. He has also worked as the corporate head of the marketing division of Prasar Bharati. Dr. Mukesh Sharma was the architect of the Indo-Mauritius film co-production. And needless to mention, the film Ankur, Maina or Kabutar won the National Award for the Best Children's Film. During his tenure at the Doordarshan, he undertook advanced professional training in program acquisition and broadcast scheduling at the Deutsche Welle TV Training Center in Berlin and was awarded the fellowship by the British Council at UK. He has been the founding director, dean of Ramesh Sippy Academy of Cinema, and currently Dr. Mukesh Sharma is engaged as the Dean School of Branding and Advertising at the NMIMS University, Mumbai. I take great pleasure in welcoming Dr. Mukesh Sharma at our meeting. Over to you, Barjor.
Yeah, thank you. So, Doctor, could we have the pleasure of your talk? And we'll follow that up with a few question and answers after you finish.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let me congratulate you, Mr. Nariman, for being the president for this year, which I overheard just now. My best wishes with you. Today, as I told Mr. Abuji, I have taken up the topic to share my views in the role of media now in influencing the civil societies, or us, how it influences. So my honeymoon with media started way back in 1977 when I was writing for the National Herald newspaper at Lucknow and switching over to Doordarshan Lucknow as a freelance program producer and newsreader. At that time, I was listening to Vivid Bharati on AIR and Benaka Geetmala on Radio Ceylon, viewing billboards and hoardings while going to a single screen theater to watch films and using landline telephones to connect with friends and family members. So that was generally comprised the media scene in those days, which I'm sure you all are, since my age group, you must have gone through it. But after that, the face of media has undergone a drastic transformation. Today, let me tell you, the media has 10 heads. What are these 10 heads? They comprise of television channels, TV. So one head is TV, which has in India, we have nearly more than 900 TV channels, which is inclusive of news and GEC, general entertainment channels like the Star and Sony and others. We have multiple radio stations. We have nearly 9,600 cinema halls in the country, which is much less. The density of cinema halls is much less as compared to our population, which is much more in China and in US. That means there is a lot of scope, but unfortunately, due to the COVID, everything has gone back now. For some time, we have to start all over again. The next head is animation and VFX. This industry, media, is growing very fast. Then we have the OOH, the out of home, what you see, the billboards and the hoardings. Apart from that, music industry is another head. Live events, which of course of late we are not having because of the social distancing and COVID. Online gaming, yes, it has picked up very well. That is another head of the media. Print, of course, has been there since the time of newspaper and other magazines. And finally, digital, or what we call the social media, which has numerous outlets comprising of WhatsApp, the Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, Telegram, and whatnot. Now, in such a scenario, sir, content is no longer defined by form or format. video, audio, long, short form, it's not that, but it is defined, the content is now defined by the depth of the experience what you or me as a consumer has. The consumer no longer wants to just to consume content passively, but wants to participate actively. Like you remember in KBC, play along game they started in Kaun Banega Crorepati. People are indulging in social media, news on Twitter. You send a Twitter, immediately somebody gets a retweet. So participation is there. Gaming, in the gaming sector, a lot of gaming is happening right now. They want you to participate in the gaming, you and I. Now, all this is going to increase furthermore, once again, when we have the augmented reality and the virtual reality in place, where a lot of work is happening in the media. Now, the growth of several VFX-led movies, our own Bahubali, network gaming and interactive game shows are all pointing that engagement of the consumer is going to be totally different now. So, media sector, as I see, can be reimagined as per the content format. That means for text, we will have newspaper, magazine, online news and books. For audio, future, and now we are having audio streaming or podcast or radio or smart speakers. For video, we have video streaming. Right now, we are doing that. Television is there. And for experiential, which is when we have an experience of the event. So events and gaming and cinemas and OH are all that. Now, let me tell you, if a person comes out of the grave and witness today's media scene, he will not believe it is the same civil society that he bade goodbye to 30 years ago. As I said, and I'm repeating it, media today is like the Ravan, which has 10 heads. Now, out of these 10 heads, I will right now today concentrate most on the 2 heads, which I feel are the one which we are interacting in spite of COVID and continue to interact. And they are the heads which are really I'm concerned about. That is TV and digital. And they are influencing the civil societies and doing more harm, if you ask me, than good. Hence, I will focus on these 2 platforms. But before that, let us define what is a civil society quickly. A civil society refers to the arena of willing collective action around shared interests, purpose, and values. In theory, its institutional forms are distinct from those of the state, family, and market, though in practice, the boundaries between the state, civil society, family, and market are often complex and blurred and negotiated. In the context of our nation now, and I would like to quote it, our democracy was not built on the simple principle of the rule of the majority, sir. It was built on the idea of unity in diversity, the idea of building a consensus. It's a great liberal idea. It rejects extremes and extremism. It's an idea that our media must grapple with, come to terms with, and promote in its own way. But, sir, this is not happening. Now, let's take a look at the TV media platform, of which I said I'm really concerned. At the outset, this country does not have any proper broadcasting laws. There are no broadcasting laws to follow on. What to show, what not to show, when to show, what and what to show when are simple disciplines that exist in most of the broadcasting nations. India has around 900 plus TV channels, 43% of which are news channels, sir. Today, the Indian TV media, driven by the twin engines of revenue and technology, has actually gone into an overdrive. The story is simple. There is much more TV media hammering on us than before. So as a society today, let me tell you, we are much more fragmented than before. Civil society requires shared information or common knowledge in order to function effectively and democratically. When differentiation and fragmentations arise in a society, common knowledge is lost. Anything uncommon among the citizens will lead to further divide, more chaos, more confusion, and more disintegration. When TV media platforms proliferate, the mixed network vanishes. And in its place, the specialist network or the niche channels, what you see, sports and the films and the news and the music and wildlife, they come alive. Now, whereas the mixed network emphasizes what viewers have in common, the single issue channel emphasizes what separates them from others. This situation is extremely alarming. When among the news channels, there is a further fragmentation of viewers and audiences. Why is this happening? Why is this happening? Simply because there is a decline in inspirational values in spite of greater reach and visibility. To me, the main reason is that our nation doesn't have a strong public service broadcaster. A broadcaster which is answerable to the people of this country and not to the government of the day. A broadcaster which is directly funded by the parliament or people and therefore not liable to follow the dictate of the regime of the day. A broadcaster which can work as a role model and keep the other broadcasters upright and honest. It is unfortunate that in spite of having a pubcaster like Prasar Bharati with its enormous reach, it is still underfunded and depends on the government for grant and aid, which usually comes with a string attached. It is in the interest of civil societies that we must try and find ways to make Prasar Bharati self-sufficient and free from government control. Till this happens, we'll have to rely on private broadcasting to keep everyone honest and integrated. The private TV broadcasting in our country is in the process of, as I see, Samudra Manthan, which is churning out both nectar and poison. The poison is in the form of increasingly reckless content, gossips, and triviality is passing off as news just to ensure that the TRPs, the bottom lines, and the eyeballs are taken care of. Junk food journalism is the norm of the day. In the words of the erstwhile Minister INB, Mr. Jaipal Reddy, of course, he is no more now, he said, and I quote, "Media has more reach, but less credibility now." Blaming it on the trivialization, glamorization, sensationalism, the minister felt that media barons have the dreadful combination of influence and affluence. Most of the news channels believe in the phrase "more loyal than the king." They themselves feel they are more loyal than the king. Also, they are seen as the fact that there is no respect for the dead. We remember 9/11, but how many of us remember seeing the faces of the dead Americans? None of us. That is because not a single dead body was exposed to the TV camera. But here in India, we are all witnesses the cremation of dead bodies with all the gory details shown vividly on our private news channels. You must be watching these days. There is no disclaimer or alert to prepare the citizen as to what they are watching. And that is why I say the private broadcasters are more loyal than the king. In our country, the private channel broadcast news and reports on as is where is basis. Sometimes in their quest to break news, it seems to be manufactured. In any case, nobody underplays the news. It's fine, but are our people ready with so much of diversity of caste, creed, politics, economics, divide, and social variance? The need of the hour is to be very careful and not sacrifice discretion at the hands of sensationalism. In spite of all the precautions taken by the government to inform the people about the death of Mrs. Gandhi in 1984, I remember very well, the then broadcaster Doordarshan and AIR, all hell broke loose and we all know what happened. Imagine, because her death was reported 24 hours after, to ensure that nothing goes wrong. And in spite of that, nobody could control the riots and the massacre, what happened. Imagine if there was as many channels as in the 80s as there is today, what would have happened? I wonder in today's times, in the event of any leader being shot by those who do not belong to his caste or community, imagine what will happen. As it is in today's parlance, the media went overboard regarding the death of Sushant Singh Rajput. Moderation is the name of the game in such reporting, or even in preparing people to view a disaster as an art. The camera has to revolve in such a fashion that it does not hurt the psyche of the viewer. What started 15 years ago, when all the news channels reported the tragic incident of self-immolation by a trader in Patiala, continues till date in absence of any regulations vis-a-vis content broadcast. I remember all the cameramen stood there with their cameras rolling rather than trying to save the trader's life by dousing the fire. One can understand if it was a wildlife photography where the first rule is don't interfere with the nature. Animals get killed or die of starvation, all in the due course of nature's mantra of survival of the fittest. But what happened here? A man was being roasted alive with no helping hand. On top of all, not a single news channel cautioned weird discretion. The live reporting of the trader's self-immolation triggered off a chain reaction with at least half a dozen more such copycat self-immolation. Some of them, sir, involving small children. It is a fact that a wave of mediocrity has taken over the TV medium. As a result, the more gimmicks and the shock value one adds to the program, the higher the TRPs. Liberal use of expletives, undignified language, and below-the-belt humor is the order of the day. The channel describes this as a socially relevant, defined it as a platform for common man's aspiration, and proclaims that the bold interviews are about freedom of speech. With so much of poison around, where is the nectar? All said and done, in spite of all failures and chaos, the gains are not insubstantial. With the dueling girl-child ratio dwindling, only sting operations carried out by the news channels on the greedy doctors have forced them to accept that their malpractice are under scrutiny. It has forced robust transparency in public life. New technologies allow corruption to be caught on tape, creating an infectious energy to television foot soldiers that often serve the public interest, most memorably in disasters. If you remember, the reopening of Jessica Lal murder case would not have been possible without the constant hammering of the media. So where is the problem? It lies in the key element of media reporting called proportion. It is also an original principle of journalism. Proportion offers balance in the public affairs discourse. No amount of investigation and detailed reporting can lead to accuracy if the material selected is not proportionately drawn from the society. There is an important link between media and interrogation of civil societies called the citizenship. Media can play a stronger role if it is reporting is premised on citizen participation and does not regard viewers, listeners as passive consumers of its reporting. Moreover, audience participation in debates and discussion and interviews will always add new dimensions to the civil society. In the absence of any regulatory mechanism, as I said, vis-a-vis media control, media reforms, the role of media will always be under scrutiny. Earlier, the job of nation building was under the control of the state media. It had to work under certain guidelines and certain norms. No doubt, most of the state-sponsored programs were not well made, but they had reflected a perceived state responsibility towards all citizens by airing programs for schools and farmers, health and hygiene, education and literacy, information and entertainment. As already mentioned, presence of a strong pubcaster such as Prasar Bharati in India will keep a check on the reliability quotient of all private channels. But this will be possible only if Prasar Bharati is completely autonomous. Yes, completely autonomous and self-funded. World's experience show that public funding is the best way to guarantee both high quality and diverse programming. BBC in UK, Denmark Television, SVT in Sweden, ZAF and DW in Germany, FRZ in France are some of the public pubcasters funded by the license fee from the listeners and viewers. They do not rely on the advertising revenue, hence they are not market driven. Till 1981-82, if you remember, people in India were paying a small fee on radio and TV sets when the broadcasting was under the government control. Now, it is a paradox that one needs the license fee more so in the day when Prasar Bharati is a corporation and not under the 100% government control. I would say a fee of ₹50 per month can generate revenue up to 5,000 to 6,000 crores per annum. This money can help Prasar Bharati to concentrate all programming free from commercial pressures and address the full range of audience interests like the BBC. The license fee that also I gave an idea can be collected through telephone or electricity bill. As for identifying the TV homes, all one has to do to give an affidavit to Prasar Bharati that I don't have a TV set. And that also can be taken care of. And this practice is being carried out in Singapore, Thailand, and Mauritius. Although all of us enjoy the most of the popular program most of the time, listen carefully, very few of us want them all the time. We don't want all the time entertainment. Research shows that by and large, public wants to spend 2/3 of the time watching undemanding, entertaining fare, but wants to watch something more challenging for the remaining 1/3. A self-funded broadcaster can provide these programs and much more to the audience without marketing pressures. Information, they say, is power, and the most powerful ministry is the Ministry of I&B. Let us learn from our mistakes in the same way the Germans learn from lessons, from their lessons from their ministry. The propaganda ministry unleashed during Hitler's regime was so powerful and destructive that in the aftermath of Germans were very, very careful in formulating laws so as to cover all the loopholes. In the field of television, they have a strong PSB, Public Service Broadcaster, Deutsche Television, Deutsche Welle, and clear-cut rules for the private channels. Children's program during the day, soaps and entertainment in the evening, and adult movies only after 12 midnight. The other important ruling was to disallow cross-media holding. Now, this is something interesting. The same entity was not allowed to run a channel, a newspaper, or a radio. Well, sadly, in our country, it's not like that. We can see simple example of Times Group of paper. They have a newspaper, Times Now. They have a TV channel. They have a Radio Mirchi, and their presence also in social media platform. So constantly, if they say something that this is this, whether it is right or wrong or true or false, people will accept to believe it. So there is no law again there to control that. Similarly, other media groups have such cross-media holding in absence of any laws. The information unleashed by such media barons will completely change and sway the mindsets of the civil society in any direction they like. Now, this was the television wing which I was concerned. Now, I'll give you a little light on the second most destructive head of the media right now, Ravan's head, which is social media, creating reckless and fake news and information content. Before I go ahead, let me tell you the story of the real news and fake news, which is very interesting. Once it happened that real news and the fake news met on the road. The fake news said to the real news, "It's a marvelous day today." The real news looks up to the sky and sighs, for the day was really beautiful. They walk together for a while until they reach a beautiful well. The fake news tells the real news, "The water in the well is very nice. Let's swim together." The real news, once again suspicious, tests the water and discover that it is indeed very nice. They undress and start to bathe. Suddenly, the fake news jumps out of the well, puts on the clothes of the real news, and runs off towards a nearby town. The furious real news leaps out of the well and runs to find the fake news and wants her clothes back. The people, seeing the naked, real, truthful news, are horrified and look away with contempt and rage. The poor real news returned to the well, disappeared before hiding forever with shame. And since that day, the fake news travels the world 6 times faster. close than real news. Over years, fake news has emerged as a big challenge in India, sir, both for the government and the civil society, even as it has led to violence and tension in the society, at times even killings. Technology has now made it so easy to create what even a few decades ago required large investment, whether access to printing press, studio, or broadcast transmitters. Now, with the help of a simple laptop at home and a decent HTML sheet, you can create a newspaper at home. You can make it look good with snippets quoted from a FB or Twitter feed. People who already believe in a certain set of facts are not going to spend the time to verify the actual source or decide whether it's a brand they trust. A generation ago, information that appeared in a print enjoyed a certain legitimacy, whatever the source. But today, people tend to trust and believe those closest to themselves and end up in their own echo chambers. The danger lies in ease of falsifying online content, from plausible but imaginary newspaper website to photoshopping images and using machine learning and AI to create deep fake video footage for political and other purposes. So how do we distinguish between fake and real videos? The best answer lies in phygital, which I call physical and digital. I combined it together and call it phygital, which means a combination of machines and humans both have to check. Technology gives us as well as it takes away. People are becoming very sophisticated in their ability to verify videos. What natural shadows would be, how does hair or fur move? But as soon as someone comes with a verifying algorithm, the same technology is incorporated with even more sophisticated fakes. So you are never done. All said and done, with a bit of time, curiosity, persistence, and critical eye, civil societies must keep questioning themselves. And this is the first step to debunk false information. Also, I would request you to try and plug any news which is fake or red, which can harm people and can create divide. We need to plug it at the source itself. Do not forward or share such news items or videos at all. Any video made on a majority or a minority community should be consciously ignored, as these are manufactured to create ripples in your psyche. They do more harm than good in a democracy such as ours. All said and done, the 10-headed Ravan was a Mahapandit. When he was nearing his death, Lord Ram asked his brother Lakshman to go to him and learn something which no other person except an erudite Brahmin like Ravan could ever teach him. So it is up to us as the member of the civil society what we can learn from the present 10-headed media, which has all the ingredients what the 10-headed Ravan had. The 10-headed Ravan's heads are supposed to be Kam, Krodh, Moh, Lobh, Mad, Irsha, Manas Buddhi, Chit, and Ahankar, which were lust, anger, delusion, greed, pride, envy, psyche, and intellect, mind, and ego. We as consumer, producer, and sharer of the content need to use these ingredients judiciously while interacting with media. Thank you very much, sir, for your kind attention.
That was extremely informative speech, Doctor. And
thank you so much.
What I appreciated most is the nuts and bolts. There's some things which we just could not even perceive.
Yeah.
You said. May I begin by asking you just one or two small?
Yes, please.
Which I have, and then there are some members who have posted them, and I'll ask them later.
Yeah.
First one, your question about license fee is still echoing in my mind. In the early days, we had it for radios and things like that.
Yeah.
Why is it that we stopped? I think it's an excellent suggestion you made. And why is it that this?
See, what happened, Mr. Nariman, when I was in Prasar Bharati and Doordarshan, so this idea started sometime in 2000 itself, when I had taken, as I said, fellowship at UK and Germany, Berlin. And I found why their programming was always better, always looked more, I would say, expensive or rich than ours. So then I found that they have a funding from the public rather than a funding from the parliament. Of course, gives them a piece of cake directly so that they are not answerable to the government of the day. Sorry, my video. So they are not answerable to the government of the day. They are answerable to the parliament. So that cake was there for them. But apart from that, BBC takes a certain license fee even today, wherever the TV sets are. And that is a part, as I said, this license fee, even France is collecting, even Germany, even in Thailand, in I think Singapore. And they made it very simple, just adding up with their either telephone bill or putting it as a, in electricity bill. So there was no problem. But somehow, I don't know, the idea never took shape and people felt, array, Doordarshan is taking money from us. And, it's like this additional burden on us and things like that. So somewhere the idea died down. But I feel that if you have a public service, strong public service broadcaster who is busy who's not rubbing your line is creating his own line, like BBC. The others will then try and evaluate or see to it that at least their programming is of that standard. Today, there are no benchmarks to know what standard is. Anyone is making Saas Bahu, everyone makes Saas Bahu. Anyone is making Kapil Sharma, everyone is making Kapil Sharma. So it's like, you know, there is nothing clear about it as to how one should go about. And second, broadcasting laws are not there. In absence of broadcasting laws, it's a free for all affair today.
This second point you raised, and that disturbs me quite a lot in seeing these gory scenes which they show live on television.
Yes.
I have a question here. Okay, with your experience, of course, because we don't know what happens behind the camera. When our crew go and the TV persons are there and they're filming this, is any help rendered to these people after the shooting? For example, if they go and interview some villagers who are in desperate need of medicines, etc., etc.
No, sir, no.
Nothing.
Especially, see, when we used to go, because we had a long list of do's and don'ts. So first of all, we will never be able to, we as a public broadcaster will never cover such thing, right? If at all, we would then try and either, you know, cover it in such a fashion that it is not, or we may give an alert that the visuals are little, you know, it may affect your psyche, something. In private, they are very keen. In fact, if it doesn't happen, they will say that, yeah, thoda aur dikhao na isko. Make it a little more sensationalism so that, you know, we can garner more TRPs. So there it is purely, that's why the difference between a commercial broadcaster and a public service broadcaster is simple. Public service broadcaster is working for the citizens and commercial broadcaster is working for the consumers.
But
and they both have space. I'm not saying they don't have space. But where to draw a line, that's a problem.
So that actually leads me to the next question I have. Okay, why is it that today's news is all morose, all hurtful, and not an element of good news? I mean, I know India Today is starting to say at the end of their news channel that this is the good thought for the day. Why is it? You mean to say we can't find any good work being done?
Sir, what has happened is, as I said, that technology has outpaced us, learning. Today, if you, as I said, if you want to start a news channel on your own computer, you can start very easily, right? But do you know the do's and don'ts of how to create news, how to gather news, how to write news? All these things the students have not learned so fast, and everyone is eager to say that I can do it. And can you imagine they are even putting fake photographs on somebody's face? Because as I said, now I'm on YouTube and I'm seeing those, and they would put say a photograph of Dilip Kumar has died today. Now somebody would have put it 2-3 days ago and put a mala. And it would put in such a fashion that thumbnail, which is attracts you to open that particular news item, would write that Dilip Kumar no more, and just leave it there and then add it up with something like that, so that you are, you know, that lead attracts you to it. So today is the fundamental thing is how many viewers you have, how many likes you have, how many. Yeah. So all that has gone for a toss, that what you're making, what you're not making. That's the problem.
There's a question from one of our members, and mentions, how do you remedy the trend for sensationalism, no concern for the other person, communities in order to make profits? Is it a disease and a rot in our society?
As I said, sir, when we started, when the country after the independence, at least all of us were looking on nation building. The army was doing it their way, the farmers were doing it their way. As broadcasters, we were busy with their way. Yes, there were some extreme things happened, which today, when we look back, should not have been done. But then we were growing up, so we also didn't know how to go about in those areas. But today, as I said, again, I'm repeating, because of the technology factor and because of fast food and junk food and immediate and eyeballs, garnering eyeballs, this is what the mantra today is. And they have no clue. If you ask, I've written a book, ABC of Broadcast Journalism, because when I did my broadcast journalism, I found that even there are certain quotients of news. There is a sensitivity quotient, there is a distant quotient, there are quotient. Do I fall into those quotients? I'll give you a simple example. Suppose there is a strike happening in the airport, and you are supposed to travel with your family. The plane has not taken off for various reasons. Cleaning has not been done in the aircraft or thing, because the fourth class employees have gone on a strike, and their union is saying that kaam nahi hoga, paise badhenge, whatever their demands. Now I go there and I would like to report a news on the strike. Now as a public broadcaster, how will I do? I will go to this guy who's doing it and I will talk to him. Ki bhai kyun kar rahe ho, kya hai? He will say, "Sahab, hamara inhone ye nahi badhaya, aaj महंगाई kahan pahunch gayi, aaj itna ho gaya, bhatta nahi hai, sab theek hai." Then I will go to the people who are also suffering, the passengers, and I will ask them, बोले इनका तो रोज का चक्कर रहता है, आज बच्चे को दूध सुबह से नहीं मिला है, मैं यहाँ बैठी हूँ, महिला अलग रो रही है, वाला. So there is, have I tried to be proportionate in my dealing and try to bring out before you and say that, look, both are lying in a way, but both are wrong also in a way, somewhere they are not understanding each other. My job is to build bridges. A private broadcaster, he will see कि यार मैं किसको ज़्यादा बढ़ाऊं जो ज़्यादा गालियां दे, उसको बोलेंगे दो चार गालियां देगा तो that will give them more TRPs. So वो मारामारी सेंसेशन वो तभी संभव है जब हम फीडर को, when our own feeder हुआ the journalist, if we put there, which I started with the Rhine television, Rhine group, Rhine international group, they have something like 3.5 lakh students all over the country, about 115 schools. So Madam Grace Pinto is the principal and very close to me. There I have started media studies at the level of 9th and 10th and 8th. And that's how I want them to inculcate, maybe small number, but some good journalists may come out if they want to take up journalism as their career.
Thank you. Any other questions from members?
I would like to ask a question.
Yeah.
We get a lot of fake news on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Although I know for a fact that this is fake and I don't forward it, is there any mechanism whereby I can go on that link or a site to see whether that is fake and then prove it to this person who sent it that this is fake news?
So only thing is this, if this gentleman hello, sorry.
Instead of getting into an argument with those people on the chat, this is fake, and
I would request you to refrain from any argument anywhere. In my own network, when somebody tries to tell me something, either I coolly say namaste and knock him off. I don't want you. See, I'm not forcing you to listen to me. I'm not doing that, but I don't want to fight with you here on a platform just because you want to say something, and that is to be seen by 10 others. If the fight was just between the two, it was okay. So I don't want to do that. Two, I would request, madam, anything which comes, as I said, especially in these days where I said this country is beautiful, country is made of so many different flowers what we have, and I don't want any flower to be come under anybody's feet. So that's where I say that anything, if you, at least you as a member would say that, okay, I'm not going to send whatever it is, whether it may be even right, I would say that this has happened. Now these days, as I said, they are manufacturing this content. There is a regular factory for manufacturing of A party and B party, of A community and B community. I'm not saying anyone. And they are deliberately doing this to ensure that if this goes for number of eyeballs, caches, then they can start their own thing. So they are actually, it's a free for all affair. The government is trying to come out, but let me tell you, government has their own agenda.
Yeah.
Same government which may criticize today of the death of the father was yesterday, or not criticized yesterday, was supporting or not supporting. So you cannot, so you as a citizen has to do it now. Nobody can help you. You and I have to help each other.
No, on our own we do it, but those people don't want to believe us.
So just leave. I would say just leave it. There is no scope. There is no point. I mean, I would say that to raise your blood pressure, there is no reason.
Thank you.
Yeah, members. Any other questions?
Dr. Sharma, what are your views on censorship of what is being shown on OTT platforms, like abuses, drugs?
Yeah. I have been binge watching actually last year. Whole year I watched so many series, so I don't know. I myself don't remember. Yes. See, the thing is this: are we ready? The question is: are we ready as citizens to have such a viewing? Because we are. I have already said we are so diverse. Our education levels are diverse, our thinking patterns are diverse, our culturally we are diverse in so many things. So can we think when it comes to media altogether, yeah, this is okay or this is not okay? I fail to understand. I don't agree with those people, journalists, and I had a fight so many times. I said, are we ready? I'm simply asking that what you are doing. And when you say we'll do self-censorship, are you put your hand to your heart and say that you are doing it? No. At some place you will say, no, we'll do it. And then you, again for eyeballs and TRPs, you will leave it and have some scenes which you would like to have it. Why not? As individuals, sir, are we taking care? The same thing. The problem, another problem, sir, is there with last 20 years, the generation what we have today is a generation which has been practically come up on technology only. They were born with a mobile phone in their hand. They cannot count, they cannot multiply, they cannot add, they cannot subtract. If the phone is taken from them, they feel they are totally left. Their heart lies in it, because I'm dealing with the students. So the thing is, we as a parents, are we doing enough? I'm just asking this. Are we doing enough? We have such beautiful culture values we had enough. This nation has. Do the kids know about it? They have no clue, sir. And that is what hurts, that हमको इतना अच्छा सिखाया था, हम at least बांट के तो जाए before I leave this world. I am unable to do that, sir. My starting this story channel was only that. I thought, okay, even 10 people, students young, they understand what I'm talking. Mera kaam ho gaya. I cannot change the whole world, sir. I remember a story of and this, I'll just tell you about a woman who used to sit on a seaside cleaning the shells of tortoise. And there were a lot of tortoise around, small tortoise shells. So the boy came, he said, Madam, you are doing it, but there are so many, will you be able to finish them? Can you change Sabka Dunya? And why are you doing it? She said, look, it helps them to breathe. It helps them to do this if I do it. And when I send it back in the pond or in the river. He said, but there are so many. She said, I know, I cannot change the world for everyone, but at least I can change the world of this one tortoise. Are we doing it, sir? That is my question. Are we changing the world of at least one person? वो कर लेगा, वो कर देगा, ऐसा नहीं होता है, sir. मैं एक साल तक सर इस कमरे में जहां बैठा हुआ हूं, इट्स अ वेरी स्मॉल रूम कंपेयर टू माय रूम, लेकिन मैं वही डायलॉग बोलता हूं दीवार का कि जहां मैं बैठूंगा लाइन वहीं से शुरू होगी. मैं कहीं बैठ जाऊं. यहाँ के वाइस चांसलर को मैंने बोला, मैंने कहा छोड़िए, डोंट वरी अबाउट माय सिटिंग वेयर आई एम सिटिंग. बट इस रूम से मैंने क्रिएट कर दी वो कहानियां बैठ करके, वो चीजें जो कि बड़े-बड़े सेट. आई एम मार्केटिंग इट, सर. आई एम शूटिंग माई सेल्फ. आई एम लाइटिंग माई सेल्फ. आई एम रिसर्चिंग माई सेल्फ. आई एम नरेटिंग माई सेल्फ. आई एम अपलोडिंग माई सेल्फ. आई एम एवरी डूइंग one man job. Today's students, when I talk to them, half the time they have no clue what they want to do. Are we trying to bring them to our main? This is what my worry is, which we are not doing enough. अब आप और हम तो थर्ड जनरेशन में आ गए ना. We are grandfathers now. We are not even fathers. So as grandfathers, भी हमारा जो रोल है, क्या हम कर पा रहे हैं सर? जो भी थोड़ा बहुत है, मैं वो सवाल पूछ रहा हूँ. उस जनरेशन को जो 2000 में या which has come up after say 1990. सोचिए सर, it is alarming. It is alarming कि we, I mean, I feel very happy to be born in a country with so much of diversity, beautiful people. But हम क्या कर पा रहे हैं सर? Sorry, I get a little carried away, but that's how it is.
Excellent, really fantastic.
Bujo, may I ask?
Yes, please, Anil.
Doctor, today when you hear TV,
yeah,
the news media is totally divided. Either it's pro-government or anti-government. Yes. There's no middle. I see the common channels. How does one form an objective view of what's happening? With the result, you do not know what's happening in the country.
Sir, you can't. That's precisely I said in my entire thing. That is the problem, no, sir. That is the problem. How do we? So that's why I said if you had an independent media which was directly reporting to the parliament, the funding was coming from the parliament, so there were no string attached. Today, if you have a channel, you will see to it that either it is pro or anti, whatever it is. Actually, it's going to be with a party affiliated. So that is the problem. But government finds it easy for them. They are happy with it. No, but the majority government feels it very happy about it. The majority of the people feels it good. It's okay. But ultimately, it is ruining us, ruining our people.
Yeah, but what can the society do about it? I mean,
society, sir, वही वाली बात है. You stop, don't watch such thing. और मैं क्या कर सकता हूँ? Stop. Close that channel. I don't watch television news at all, sir. Let me tell you, I have stopped. Then I came back. Still the newspaper, though we know that still the newspaper news is something which has got a little, I would say, in-depth reporting or research done in it. Even if you're reading an editorial or you're reading any article related.
What's your view on Beyond?
Well, it's a good channel, sir. It's a good, at least it is trying to do it. It is trying to do it. See, leaning, all the channels will have some leaning here and there for funding purpose. That is there and for other matters. But Beyond at least is trying to bring out, it says that it is covering World is One News. He's trying to bring the news from all over the countries, all over the areas, and it has certain guidelines, no doubt about it. I like the channel, I've been watching it. But then again, something like this not happening because our news has stopped. Now it's only views. A person sits, he will have 5 people sitting there and they are all doing blah. And the same 5 people will come. They are the people who are deciding the destiny of this country, the destiny of people and the destiny of the subject that day. And the worst is after that second day, they don't talk even about it, what happened. They just blah, blah, blah and finish.
But Sharma, that begs the question. Why is the format being changed from what Anil says, where really news and we want to know what's happening in the world, to just taking a topic of the day and having 5 people give bhashan? Why is that format changed? Where is the news gone? What is the news channel for?
See, sir, at the end of the day, whatever sells, they are looking at it. If they are getting TRPs on it, Beyond may not be getting as much TRP as, say, Times Now is getting or as another Republic channel is getting.
Okay.
Because you all are sitting here. Suddenly, there is a fight down. some shouting is happening, don't you think I will immediately rush to the window and watch what is happening there and leave this right now, whatever discussion we are doing? Or if there is something else happening, which is an content, which is an adult content, I would like to see that leave all this here. Why this is happening is you and I have to stop it. Nobody else will stop it, sir. And we have to teach our kids about the good. Let them. Today we cannot say that don't watch it. In our times, do you remember, sir, when my father used to take me to cinema halls, and he would make it very clear that this film, of course, it is for all of us. But if there are scenes which I don't want to see, I will put my hand on your eyes. Is it okay? I don't want to. I said, okay, sir. So then we would try to see between, the fingers if something we can watch. That sort of time we have come today. So now what you're talking about censorship and other things, sir. So there are very few of us are left. I mean, I would say numbers, and we have to give whatever is left and then we leave it to the world. If the world has decided to change for better or worse, I don't know. I believe it.
There's one question from a young member. I don't really know about this particular person, but he says, what do you think about NDTV's Ravish Kumar's journalism?
Sir, I told you I have stopped watching television news, so I won't be able to comment on that. But NDTV, I know, has a leaning for a particular party, and Republic has that. So naturally, his leaning will always be there. Even what happens is, even in a important news, they will try to see that from their perspective. They will not put a news directly. They will try and bring their perspective in so that you are swayed. You would like to listen to their way of understanding the thing rather than your own or what is the truth, which is happening everywhere, sir. That's why it is really sad. I would still say go back to newspaper.
Barjot, can I ask a question?
Yeah, Mr. Akshay.
What is your opinion on the government stand on Twitter?
As I said, I am not taking time and I am not going into these controversies at all because my hands are full with so much work. I read, in fact, can you imagine, I only started my newspaper day before yesterday after 2 months. When I said I cannot live without it now, because every time they said, no, there is a problem with Corona and all, I said, Abhi aane do. So the first story I read yesterday of father was, who died in the prison and he couldn't get bail. In fact, a nice article has come up today on him. So at least these are the things which we should read. Otherwise, iska to koi end nahi hai na. Though I know the INB minister very well. I was, very close to him when he was no minister. When I was in Doordarshan, he would come to my place and do program and sit there. All that is there. But otherwise, I have kept them. I said, okay. Of things that you have got, and I told them, I said, I'm not a politician and my other habits are good.
Very good.
May I ask a question?
Yes, Mr. Punjabi.
Yes, thank you, Mukesh. We, very interesting. We are all very captured by what you are saying, and we are not able to leave our seats. So, about censorship, I am seeing that
on OTT,
a lot of movies that we are shown are censored, even HBOs and other mediums, and also film, of course. But Netflix and all those other things are still not censored. So why is the difference there?
Because see what has happened earlier, these OTT platforms were not coming under the INB ministry's regulation, which means the content part. They all said let it go under the what you call the hardware part of it. So they were not under the software part of it. So they continued, and it was hardly. Now during lockdown, and Netflix and other networks, including so many Z5 and Z5 and Live and even Amazon, so many networks came up and they came up with their thing. Now people are saying, there was a fight also, I remember, I gave a lecture on this last year, between Netflix and the private channels. They said they can show a film as it is they want, whereas we cannot do it. So they said, no, they come under that rule and this law. And as I said, with technology coming up so fast, there was hardly any rule, which rule they'll follow. But now the government, I think, is coming up with rules and regulation even for these OTT platforms. OTT, because they said we are over the top. OTT means over the top, which means you are bypassing the satellite and cable. That's how it's known as OTT.
Well, that's how.
So, but now I think they will come under that review. Either they will have to self-censor and do it. But if you and I complain, they will also have to put a streaming under the picture, under the screen, saying that if you have any problem with the content, you may report to the so-and-so authority. Gradually, they will have to do that.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
Any more questions?
What about the multiple censorship the government is imposing on the film industry now? Do you think it is justified?
Film industry, what censorship, ma'am, they're imposing? I have no clue, because there is no separate censorship for film industry. Whatever Cinematography Act has got way back of 1955, 57, that act continues there.
But
Except now the demarcation may be instead of UA or A or something like that, they may change that. But that is also for a movie which is ready. Otherwise, censorship on the industry during production, content creation, they are not doing anything, if that is your question.
okay.
There is somebody has written, how do I bring so much of passion? Yes, sir, I'm 67 now, by the way. And I still do all the regular exercise, and God has been kind. I still have a good hair growth, so I keep myself fit just to ensure that when I'm working with the students, they don't take me for a ride, because they're very smart. So I need to be as smart as with them, at least try to be, if not more. But I would request you, my request to you is not that, because the channel which I've created, kindly, I've uploaded already more than 150 stories on that. And they are 3 to 4 minutes. Of course, they are in Hindi. Some of Hindi may go bonkers over your head, but that's okay. Still, you will be able to grasp it, you will understand it. Because what I feel is the lesson or the nasihat or the sabak or the sikh has come out very well in all the stories. I myself is surprised, how could I do it sometimes? वो कहते हैं ना, कभी-कभी किसी के हाथ से पत्थर तैरता है. I don't know if you are aware, when Ram was going to Lanka to fight Ravan, he was making a bridge. So nobody could put the stone inside except two monkeys, Nal and Neel, because उनके हाथ से पत्थर तैरना था. वो period था, जो भी उनके हाथ में देता था लिख करके डाल देते थे, तो वो कभी-कभी होता है, आ जाता है. फिर उसके बाद बंद हो गया पत्थर, किसी और के हाथ से तैरेगा. So that's how it is.
Any more questions? May I then request Sucharita to propose a vote of thanks for Dr. Sharma, please?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
It is indeed a pleasure. Indeed a pleasure, Mukesh. I must say one thing. From the wonderful legacies that we get from our parents, the best one is the legacy of friends. And even though Mukesh and his wife are definitely my generation, I inherited his friendship from my father. Okay. And I'm really grateful to that, because me and my family have learned a lot from Mukesh in these over the decades friendship that we have had. And as you can see, Mukesh is somebody who has worn many caps. And the best part of him is that he manages to fit into every cap that he has worn, because he does it with so much of passion. He expands, he not only grows into it, he ensures that the caps also expand because of his own dedication to whatever role he plays. As you can see, he's very prepared, he's very passionate, he's very spontaneous, and his content is flawless. And he has such wonderful anecdotes that come from the top of his head but are so absolutely relevant. This is his strength, and I think all of us are absolutely, like Vicky said, we are all glued to our seats. Mukesh, even if there's a fight going on, nobody's going to go and see that, okay? Not right now. But I must say one more thing. While Mukesh, I want to thank you for coming and really starting our year so beautifully with your first meeting for this year.
Thank you.
I have nothing else to thank you for, which probably you're not aware of, what all our members to know of. Mukesh and I have known each other for a long time. But through Mukesh, I got to know Abuzar, okay? And I invited Abuzar to become a member of Rotary Club Bombay. All to know what an asset Abuzar has been to us and how many new members he has brought in to our club. So Mukesh, initially you have really contributed to our club. So today in this open platform, I want to thank you for that too.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
There is a very beautiful saying in Hindi for this. Guru Gobind do khade, kake lagu paye. I'll explain it to you. Balihari Guru aapke Gobind diyo dikhaye. The student is sitting and he's saying that the Lord is here and the teacher is here. Now, whom should I worship first? Kiske pair pehle chhu? To phir kehta hai nahi. Let me touch the feet of the teacher because isi ne Bhagwan ko dikhaya.
Yeah.
So that's
true. That's true. And that's what you are. So today, I must thank you on behalf of Rotary Club Bombay Midtown for more than just today's talk. You have contributed to us in terms of many other things. And Mukesh, I think the last and wonderful thing that you can do is you join us too. We would love to have you with us. Berger has already extended the invitation. Yes.
You show me the way I'll do it.
So yeah, yes, we're going to shut up. And thank you so much. Thank you so much.